Hey guys, Comic Boom here to review Superman issue 6. Wow, the art in this issue is absolutely fantastic. Ivan Reis, wow, this, in terms of content, there are so many double page spreads in this gorgeous comic book that it's so impressive, it almost boggles my mind. The art is fantastic. This is, in my view, this is Ivan Reis's best work that I have seen to date. This is absolutely extraordinary. Ivan Reis has hit it out of the park. Joe Prado and Eau Claire Albert did the inks, Alex Sinclair on colors, Josh Reed on the letters. This is really, genuinely, this is epic. I mean, the art in this issue is fantastic. This issue, unlike the cover, this cover is sort of a misdirection a little bit. It's sad that the cover has Superman in front of what's going to be John Kent, his son, behind him, which is the final page reveal, which isn't much of a reveal because we know he's coming. But this issue is just one long fight scene with General Zod, Superman. They're battling Rogol Zaar, and there's a lot of narration where writer Brian Bendis is getting us in Superman's head. And I gotta tell you, from me, in terms of moving the story forward, not a lot happens here. Not a lot happens at all. It's the art that saves this story for me, or that saves this comic book for me, because the art is so gorgeous. It's a joy to behold. I mean, literally, I just paged through it multiple times just to stare in awe at the art. It's gorgeous. Ivan Reis does such a fantastic job. Now, so for that reason alone, guys, I don't say this often, but buy this issue just for the art alone. Just for the art alone. Now, I'm a little bit more critical of this story because the story once again moves at an absolute snail's pace. I really think Brian Bendis is going somewhere with this story, and I think it's going in an exciting direction. It's just that it's sort of a snail's crawl getting to that direction. It's like Bendis wants to get from point A to point B, and point B is probably an exciting place to get to, but it's just taking so long to get there, and it's very frustrating as a reader to know that we're 6 issues into Superman, and Rogol Zaar still remains a very one-dimensional villain who just likes to smash things. He doesn't seem particularly bright. He doesn't seem particularly intelligent. He just seems to be basically a warmonger that likes to hit things. I mean, heck, even Doomsday at some point seemed to have a rhyme or reason as to what he was doing. Doomsday was mindless destruction. Rogol Zaar seems to be mindless destructions of all things Kryptonian. There's not much of a difference here. Rogol Zaar spends this issue, he seems to have all the people in the Phantom Zone, because that's where the battle takes place. He seems to have all the minions and all the prisoners that are in the Phantom Zone seem to be following Rogol Zaar. Why are they still following Rogol Zaar? I don't know, because it's already been established. I mean, it's been Jazzer, one of the Phantom Zone criminals, has already been told by Superman, and Jazzer knows Superman doesn't lie. Superman told him in issue 4, I believe, that Rogol Zaar is the one who destroyed Krypton. Why are so many of the followers in the Phantom Zone following Rogol Zaar? I don't know. It seems rather foolish. I'm surprised that they're following him, but perhaps they're doing so out of fear. But that's not really made clear here. What this is one long giant fight scene, and Brian Bendis tries to get us into Superman's head, and Superman talks about how it's like fighting in microseconds, where these fights can sometimes just take place over the span of maybe 5 or 6 or 7 seconds because they're fighting at super speed. And he talks about a few times when he's talked with Lois, and Lois at one time said to him, how's it like dealing with us humans? Do you always feel like you got to really slow yourself down? Do you think it's an impediment dealing with me? Because it was an issue at one point apparently in Lois and Clark's relationship. Lois was concerned, like, is everything so slow to you? How do you like dealing with me, dealing with humans? Are we too slow because you've got super speed? How is it like it? How do you like dealing with that? Do your powers make you see the world differently? And Superman basically says no, but he can slow himself down, but when it comes to fighting, he can also speed himself up and fight at super speed. And all this is we get into Superman's thoughts, and we kind of already know what Superman's thinking by natural, obvious inference from previous issues. He's still wondering what secrets Rogol-Zar has. He's wondering how Zod got into the Phantom Zone. He's wondering how his father Jor-El might have a connection to all this. Did his father Jor-El know about Rogol-Zar? What's going on? And then in the midst of all this, while Superman is talking about fighting in microseconds and fighting at super speed, and these gorgeous full-page spreads of super speed fighting, in the midst of all this chaos of this amazing battle that's taken place in the Phantom Zone, in the midst of all this, suddenly Superman gets plucked out of the Phantom Zone, and he finds himself on Earth again because the Atom, Ray Palmer, along with Adam Strange, sort of plucked him out of the Phantom Zone because, of course, he was still there, and they traced him and they tracked him, and they didn't realize that Superman was in the midst of a battle with Rogol-Zar and General Zod, and they just plucked him out. And what's jarring here and what doesn't work, and this is where there, in my view, is a failure of the narrative, is Superman doesn't seem upset with the Atom when he got plucked out of the zone. He doesn't seem to be that excited at all. He doesn't seem to be concerned by the fact that he's got to know that Rogol-Zar is going to kill General Zod, or he ought to think that, given that Rogol-Zar was trying to kill him and he wants to exterminate all Kryptonians. Superman seems very nonchalant, and maybe this is a little criticism of the art as well. I think that Ivan Reis, as fantastic as the artist is, Superman should have looked a little bit more upset that he was, Adam, why did you pluck me out? Get me back in there. Get me in the zone now. General Zod needed to get to the zone. Last issue, General Zod showed up, said to the Atom, hit me with the Phantom Zone projector, I want to go in the zone now. And because he knew he had to get in there, and he did. Superman gets out of the zone, and he doesn't seem to be particularly anxious in getting back in there. And, now he's, the excuse that they have for not immediately putting Superman back into the Phantom Zone to help with General Zod fighting Rogol-Zar is that, while there's, as a fallout from the Earth being plucked out of the Phantom Zone, the San Andreas Fault is they need Superman to prevent destruction on Earth, and he's got to go to the San Andreas Fault and fix that. And so he's torn, and so Superman does that. So that's the in-story explanation. But where it would have been nice to see Superman should have taken, his priority, Superman's priority is certainly to help. Certainly he can go and help people at the San Andreas Fault because that's an emergent situation, but he should have made it clear that as soon as I'm done that, I need to go back into the zone. But he doesn't do that, and that's what doesn't work here. And Superman, once we had the first half of this issue where Superman talks about how he fights in seconds, and he accomplishes so much literally in seconds, and he can see in between the microseconds and all this stuff, and yet he seems to take his time. He goes to the San Andreas Fault and he does that. But then he's in no rush to get back into the zone, and he's got to know that Rogol-Zar stands a good chance of killing General Zod, because he knows that General Zod has never fought Rogol-Zar before, in all likelihood. And so I was a little disappointed that Superman, I got a little inkling that he didn't seem to actually care as much. I also think that Bendis his eyes are too much in the sky when it comes to Superman. He actually had Superman hit Rogol-Zar at one point and said, "For candor." And then Superman had the thoughts that, well, he said that for General Zod because he wanted General Zod to really understand that he's fighting for candor and that he's passionate too and he's willing to do what it takes to defeat Rogol-Zar. But then Superman almost felt guilty about saying that because he's got to pull from the edge, and he's got to pull back from the darkness, and he can't embrace the darkness and fight for revenge. And it's all nonsense. I think I don't like that about Superman. Superman needs to explore his darkness a little bit more here. This is Rogol-Zar. This is someone who's exterminated potentially trillions of lives, not just billions, but trillions of lives over his lifetime. Superman knows that Rogol-Zar is a massive threat, and to focus so much on, oh well, I shouldn't embrace my darkness, and this moral struggle that Bendis wants to focus on for Superman misses the mark for me, because this is not where Superman's mindset should be. It should be on destroying Rogol-Zar and, if necessary, killing him. And yes, I'm going to say it. Now, I'm not saying that I believe in a Superman who kills, but I do believe in a Superman that kills. I'm going to just come out and say it. I like John Byrne's run. And I remember in the classic John Byrne run, Superman had to kill the 3 Phantom Zone criminals because he knew that if he didn't, they would kill other worlds and other planets. So he killed them with green kryptonite. Superman, he has to do that from time to time. And for him to sort of hold back and have these ridiculous thoughts of, well, you know, I can't embrace my dark side when I'm fighting Rogolzar, or almost feeling guilty for hitting Rogolzar, and he's just putting on the show to act tough in front of General Zod. That's pathetic. I mean, why not actually fight for candor? Weren't you sincere, Superman? I mean, come on, you know. So I was a little bit dismayed at the direction that story took, or what Bendis' view of Superman is. It's sort of like a little bit too pure. It's too pure a vision for Superman. It's okay for Superman to actually get angry and upset, and it's certainly okay for him to hurt and maim and destroy his enemies, especially when they exterminate entire worlds, literally entire worlds, and billions of lives. So I don't think I'm even being that badass saying that. I just think that I was a little dismayed. I think Superman needs to toughen up a little bit and stop being so naive. And it is naive a little bit, you know. And I love Joe Kelly's story of Truth, Justice, in the American, or whatever happened to Truth, Justice, in the American Way. I know that Superman doesn't want to abandon his ideals, but you can still kick some ass and maim and cripple and destroy without abandoning your ideals. I mean, are you abandoning your ideal of protecting the innocent if you happen to kill Rogolzar? I don't think so. That's absurd. That's ridiculous to say that. But that's me. You tell me what you guys think. I think that this issue was fantastic in terms of the art. I do think that not much happened. I think in terms of moving the story forward, we still don't know anything about anything. But one interesting thing here is that Adam Strange appears to know who Rogolzar is, because at one point Adam Strange mumbled under his breath, Rogolzar, and then he sighs. So Adam Strange has clearly heard of Rogolzar, because you remember a member of the Galactic Circle is actually part of Adam Strange's mythology, and I forget the name of the individual of the former member of the Galactic Circle, and a citizen of Ran I believe is one of the scientists who works with Adam Strange. But I'll post that in the comments. But in any event, things are getting interesting here. Rogolzar does have a history, and people across the galaxy do know of him. I find it interesting that we're learning more about Rogolzar, at least potentially, in the pages of Supergirl, which I'll review after this one. But in any event, guys, tell me what you think of Superman. And I almost forgot the appearance of Jonathan Kent at the end. Unfortunately, it was okay. It was an afterthought here. I think it's a huge mistake. I really don't like the aging up of Jonathan Kent. I don't like it. He says, "Hi, Dad, don't freak out." I just didn't care. I think it's very disappointing. Imagine how disappointing it is. The next, your son leaves and he's 10 years old, and the next time you see your son, 3 years have passed. Imagine how heartbreaking that would be for Clark Kent, for Superman. I think this is really badly done. I think it's a huge mistake that DC is doing that. And it's a significant miss for me. I don't like it. I hope they de-age him. It doesn't work for me. It's just not a good way to do it. And I think Bendis missed the mark in terms of his portrayal of Superman and how he dealt with Lois, and Lois disappearing like she did, and Clark tolerating that reprehensible behavior, and then breaking Superman's heart, seeing his son older now, and he's missed out on 3 years of his son's life. It's disappointing, and we fans have been robbed of those types of stories too. It's a significant miss for me. And but in any event, sorry guys, tell me what you think. Overall, mixed results for this issue, but the art is so fantastic. Pick it up for that reason alone. Follow me on Twitter, guys, at Metropolis40. Merry Christmas, and until next time, hit the subscribe button, and Comic Boom out.